People, their wages haven't been going up, but prices have been going up, and it's all because of corporate greed. The bosses are making even more money every day than normal people, and if they just shared some of their wealth, we'd all be able to afford to live.
This is Callum Smiles for Rebel News here in central London at the People's Assembly March, which is a majority left-wing protest where people are calling for a general election now.
Shut down the Tories! Shut down the Tories! Shut down the Tories!
What do you want to achieve from this march today?
We're hoping that we can have a general election, basically.
And say if you get the general election and it's, we keep the Conservatives in, would you be happy with that? As like you had your question answered?
No. We've got to get the Tories out.
Excuse me, do you mind telling us what this is about?
Oh yes. The Conservatives, a corrupt, appalling, right-wing, hard-right government that would rather the multinationals, the corporations, companies like Shell, post 8 billion quarterly profits. Rather than impose a windfall tax, they'd rather see the elderly, the disabled and the poor go hungry and be unable to heat their homes. It's an absolute disgrace.
So what have you come to join this march for today?
A general election, no austerity, get the Tories out.
But say if you got your general election and it was the exact same result, would you at least be happy the question was asked and answered?
I wouldn't be happy, but at least it would have been us.
More democratic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, at least it would.
I don't think that it would be the same result.
If you could get one thing you want from today to happen, what would it be?
I think the main message is a general election.
If you got the general election, and let's say, it was the exact same answer as last time, would you be happy at least the question was asked and answered?
Yes, I think, I think I'm a civil servant, so we have to respect the democratic mandate that's given by the people, whatever that delivers, but I don't think the current government have one. So I think if they return the same government, then we'd have to respect that and get on with the job. But at the moment, I think that's in question.
Excuse me, do you mind if we ask why you've come here today? What's the most important issue for you?
The most important issue is the cost of living crisis. People, their wages haven't been going up, but prices have been going up, and it's all because of corporate greed. The bosses are making even more money every day than normal people, and if they just shared some of their wealth, we'd all be able to afford to live.
With the cost of living, what do you think about the rising immigration in the country? Is that something you think is at least a bit concerning? Or?
No, I think, well, for one thing, that we rely on immigrants to do our labour, so we can't have it both ways. We can't have no immigrants, but then no immigrants doing our labour. And the real connective factor between the immigrants and anybody else is that they are working class people. We all have the same class interests. We all are affected by the cost of living. We're all affected by, not having enough money.
Do you think open borders has no consequences whatsoever?
I think open borders has positive consequences. I'm against borders as a matter of principle.
We need a national election because this government was not elected.
If we got that national election and this government was re-elected, would you at least be happy that question was answered?
Certainly. But we'd have to have a decent election, where everybody gets a vote, and we would prefer to have a better electoral system. A system where every vote counts rather than just the winner's votes.
And when you say everyone gets a vote, who would you mean in terms of everyone that currently doesn't?
Proportional representation. Okay. That means that all the votes that are cast actually count. So that the votes aren't wasted and people can actually vote for whom they want and actually be represented.
The reason why people are here is that the Tories have been f***ing us. Not just for 12 years of austerity, for decades. So we need to galvanise the people and start working together to get a welfare state back, stop privatising the NHS, stop paying for education. All of our institutions are being privatised. People are here in the rain, man. You're here in the rain because they're desperate. They don't want to be here. I'm hungover shit. I don't want to be here. But I'm here because we don't have any other choice. What can we do?
Do you mind just tell me who's your favourite communist leader of all time?
It's a bit tough one, isn't it? I'll say probably Salvador Allende.
I've come here to support working class energy, to contest the current living conditions that are being forced upon the workers by the capitalist crisis, by the Russia-Ukraine war, which is essentially a proxy war between NATO and the United States, or Western imperialism, Western capitalism as a whole.
So I've been here a bit over an hour talking to people, and it seems to be a very left-wing march. As you can see behind me, Antifa have turned up, the Young Communist League.
Sick of the Tories just messing up the country, running it for their mates, for the benefit of their mates and not the people, for them demonising refugees in the way that they are.
Speaking of demonising refugees,
Yeah.
what do you think about the amount of... So it's been reported that a lot of young under 30 Albanian men are just turning up in the UK. What do you think about all that?
Well, I'm surprised actually, because I've been to Calais several times to volunteer at the camps there with the refugees, and I was there earlier this year and I never met one Albanian.
Really?
Yeah, not a single one. So, and anyway, even if they are turning up here, so what? So what? I mean, what makes that so wrong? What makes it a certainty that they're a criminal or a threat?
I've talked to some people who are a bit more sympathetic about migrants on the right. And one of their main concerns rather, is a housing issue. So if we did take more migrants, would you say there should at least be a cap in terms of how much we can handle?
No. What I think is that our government should spend money on building social housing and affordable housing so that everybody has a decent and affordable house over their heads.
So the march is underway. We've just left Embankment. And this is a very left-wing protest with multiple left-wing groups ranging from centre-left to very far left. We're going to carry on walking with them, we're going to ask more questions and find out the sort of things they want. But ultimately, people want a general election now. What are Albanians running from?
Persecution. I mean, basically, we've just seen somebody, a woman, basically killed because she wasn't wearing their jib correctly. I mean, this is just, as I say, it's becoming an absolute disaster, and it's like... But basically, we're repressing them because of oil.
So would you say you wouldn't actually align yourself with a lot of people here? Because I've spoken to a lot of people, and they want Labour, they want a communist government, they've all said. Do you think you're like a standout person here?
I don't know if I'm a standout person. I think there's probably a lot of people who think like me. That what we really need is like a new party that represents working people. And I am part of what's called the Trade Union and Socialist Coalition, which in embryo form could actually provide that initiative. I don't think it's far from the finished article, but it does offer an alternative. And if all trade unions came together under that banner, we would be able to significantly change things.
How would you feel if the question got asked, you know, we had that election and we got the same answer, would you at least be happy with the idea the question was asked in terms of an election?
That's a tough one because there's so much is kind of portrayed by the media, so people are swayed very easily. So I'd be extremely disappointed if the Tories got in again, and I wouldn't feel like it was very fair because I don't feel like we're well represented. You know, the types of people who go out to vote, the people who are able to get out to vote as well. And
do you think it's time for do you think it's time for a different system?
Yes, I do. Yeah, definitely. My daughter's 13, and you know, this is her future. And when you look at statistics, it's older people who predominantly vote Tory, and younger people who vote Labour or something else. So you know, and it's their future that's at stake here. So that's why we're here today. It's for the future of the country.
We've seen a lot of people wanting Labour to come in, but it's interesting hearing you because you seem to be a bit of a minority wanting none of them.
There's been no opposition to any of the cuts or any of the closures that have happened over the last 2 to 3 years from any party at all, Labour, Liberals or Greens, so we're not in agreement with any of those. We need somebody who will represent us, the people.
So I've spent the day here with the People's Assembly March here in central London, which has consisted of a multiple amount of left-wing groups, ranging from the centre-left to the very far left. The majority wanting a general election now, and a vocal minority actually wanting the United Kingdom to become a communist state. Interestingly, I found, when talking to people about specific topics, they've not actually realised these are very non-partisan issues, with many people on both sides of the political divide actually agreeing with one another. Anyway, this has been Callum Smiles here in central London at the People's Assembly March. If you like the work we do here at Rebel UK, you can support us at ukreporters.co.uk.